The Lost Continent Files. The untold true story that shaped America. Imagine this. A sealed metal box is discovered beneath a forgotten lighthouse on the coast of Maine. Inside lies a bundle of brittle papers, wartime dispatches, coded letters, and a journal written by a man whose name almost no American has ever heard. Yet, his actions silently influenced everything: the mapping of the Atlantic, the birth of early American intelligence, and even decisions made by Franklin, Jefferson, and Washington. This is the story of Elias Harrington, the cartographer spy, the phantom of the Atlantic, and the man whose real history is stranger than fiction. For more than 2 centuries, his existence was buried deliberately. The year was 1749, and a thin fog lay over the Atlantic like a pale, breathing creature. Off the rugged coast of what would one day become the United States, a lone survey ship, the Montgomery, cut through the water. Its crew of 20 believed they were mapping shipping lanes for the British Crown. Only one man aboard knew the full truth. Elias Harrington, age 26, stood quietly at the prow, a leather-bound notebook tucked under his arm. He was tall, narrow-shouldered, with observant gray eyes that surveyed every horizon as though reading invisible signs. Though he was officially listed as a cartographer, his true purpose was more complicated, more secret, and infinitely more dangerous. Elias was collecting information not for Britain, but for an underground network of colonial scholars and proto-revolutionaries determined to understand the land and coastlines better than any empire ever could. And he was very, very good at it. Chapter 1. The Shadow Cartographer. Before he was a spy, he was simply the son of a lighthouse keeper. He had grown up along the harsh Maine coastline, where storms pulled ships to their graves and legends were as common as fishing nets. His father taught him the constellations. His mother taught him to listen. "You can hear the ocean lie," she used to say. "It hides things. It hides people." Those words would haunt him later. By 15, Elias could sketch a coastline in the time it took most men to tie a knot. His maps were so precise that British officers questioned how a colonial boy could outperform trained royal surveyors. But accuracy wasn't his gift. His gift was pattern recognition, an ability to detect inconsistencies, secret passages, hidden coves, undercurrents, and invisible hazards that escaped everyone else. Maps for Elias were living beings. By 20, he had been secretly recruited by a barely formed network that would one day evolve into American intelligence. At that time, it was just a group of academics, merchants, sailors, and political misfits exchanging information through coded letters. His mission: chart the Atlantic coast, so that one day the colonies could be defensible, strategically, economically, and militarily. But the empire was watching. Chapter 2. The First Encounter. On a moonless night in late autumn, the Montgomery approached a stretch of cold water where, according to British naval records, nothing of interest existed. But Elias knew better. His father had once spoken of a vanished settlement, a place wiped clean as though it had never existed. Some claimed it was destroyed by storms. Others whispered that something darker happened, involving foreign spies and secret experiments in navigation. The Royal Navy denied everything. Yet, as the Montgomery drifted past the jagged line of rocks, Elias saw something flicker in the distance. A faint, unnatural light pulsing from the shoreline. He wrote quickly in his journal, "A signal where no settlement should be. Repeating pattern, not natural." He gave no outward reaction, but his heart quickened. Someone else was here, someone who didn't want to be known. Chapter 3. The Hidden Harbor. The next morning, Elias persuaded the ship's captain to let him take a small rowboat with 2 sailors to survey a potential landing inlet. The captain agreed reluctantly. He considered Elias an odd but valuable asset. As the rowboat approached the cove, the sailors murmured nervously. "Feels cursed," one said. Elias said nothing, but he agreed. They slipped into the inlet, which narrowed between 2 cliffs until suddenly the water opened into a perfectly still lagoon. And there, half concealed beneath thick fog and overgrown vines, lay the shattered remains of a foreign vessel. But not British, not French. This ship bore markings that Elias recognized only from forbidden text, symbols used by early Portuguese illusionists, navigators notorious for hoarding geographical secrets and misleading rival empires. The Portuguese Ordem de Serrana, the Order of Shadow. They were rumored to destroy entire settlements to protect navigational knowledge. Elias felt the hair rise on the back of his neck. This was no ordinary wreck. It was a sign that clandestine forces were operating along American shores long before the Revolution, and one of them might still be alive. Chapter 4. The Survivor. As the sailors inspected the fractured timbers, Elias walked deeper into the cove. The forest was eerily silent. Then he heard it. A rustle, a cough, a human voice, ragged with desperation. Elias spun around, hand on the small blade he kept beneath his coat. A man stepped from the shadows. His clothes were torn, burned in places, his hair matted, his skin ghost pale. He held a scrap of parchment in one trembling hand, and the symbol on it made Elias's blood run cold. It was one of his own encoded diagrams, a map he had drawn months ago and he had sent only to his secret network. "How did you get that?" Elias whispered. The man stared at him with hollow eyes. "Because they're coming, and they want the same thing you want, the truth about this coast, but they'll burn every colony to ash to get it." Elias stepped forward. "Who was coming?" The man's answer was a whisper carried by the wind. "The Order. They know your name." Chapter 5. The Vanishing. The sailors shouted from the inlet. One had discovered carved symbols in the rocks, strange geometric patterns resembling early cryptographic grids. Before Elias could question the survivor further, a thunderous crack boomed across the cove. A gunshot. The survivor crumpled to the ground. Elias ducked, drawing his blade, but no second shot followed. Instead, there was another sound, one far more sinister. The low hum of a signaling device used by elite navigators. The Order of Shadow was here, right now. Elias grabbed the dying man, who clutched his coat weakly. "The box, hidden under the lighthouse," the man gasped. "Your father knew." Elias froze. "My father?" But before he could say another word, the man's body went limp. The forest went silent again. And Elias realized that if the Order wanted him dead, he had only one chance. Return home, find the box, learn why his father lied. Chapter 6. Return to the lighthouse. The Montgomery resumed its journey, but Elias requested leave at the next supply harbor under the pretense of verifying local trade routes. He traveled south along jagged cliffs until the tall stone structure of the old Harrington Lighthouse appeared against the sky, like a lonely sentinel. The door creaked open with a familiar groan. Inside, everything was as he remembered. His father's tools, his mother's sewing basket, the old astrolabe hanging near the window. But as he descended into the cellar, he noticed something new. Scrape marks on the floor. Recent ones. Someone had been here. He knelt, ran his fingers along the stone tiles, and found a hollow spot. Beneath it lay a rusted metal box, the one the dying man had mentioned. He opened it cautiously. Inside were a map older than any colonial chart, dispatches marked with British seals, Portuguese coded letters, and his father's handwriting in the margins of every document. At the bottom was a message addressed to Elias, written in shaking ink. Son, if you are reading this, then the order has returned. There are things I never told you, things that could destroy nations. You must finish what I started, but trust no one. Not the crown, not the colonials, not even those who claim to fight for freedom. The truth is deeper, older, hidden beneath the very maps you draw. Elias stared, heart pounding. Everything he had ever known was about to unravel. And someone outside the lighthouse door was waiting, because Elias heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, approaching. 7. The visitor. Elias extinguished his lantern and silently pressed against the cellar wall. The footsteps stopped at the top of the staircase. A voice, smooth, confident, accented, called down, "Elias Harrington, we finally found you." It was Portuguese, but not rough like a sailor, polished, noble, dangerous. "You have something that belongs to the order, a box, and a name on a map. Give them to me and you will live." Elias tightened his grip on the blade. He whispered into the darkness, "I do not negotiate with liars." The man chuckled. "Oh, Elias, your father said the same thing, and look how he ended." Elias's chest tightened. His father's death had been ruled an accident, but now the truth was slithering out like smoke. "You murdered him," Elias growled. "Oh no, we simply corrected a threat, and now we must correct you as well." The footsteps resumed, descending swiftly. Elias sprang. He overturned a shelf, sending tools cascading down. The lantern shattered. Fire erupted instantly, illuminating the cellar in violent orange light. The intruder cursed, shielding his face. Elias bolted past him and raced up the stairs. He burst into the night, the lighthouse roaring behind him in flames. And he ran. Into the storm, into the darkness, into a future shaped by secrets. The world had become his map, and he had just crossed its most dangerous border. Chapter 8. The Storm Run. Rain hammered Elias's face as he sprinted along the cliff's edge, the burning lighthouse casting a hellish glow behind him. If the order had tracked him here, they would track him anywhere. He needed to disappear, but first, he needed somewhere safe to decipher the contents of the metal box. Lightning tore across the sky. He found a narrow trail leading down to a hidden dock, one only locals knew. There, tied loosely to an iron cleat, bobbed a lonely fishing skiff. Elias leapt aboard, untied the rope with trembling hands, and pushed off into the roaring surf. The wind howled like a beast, waves crashed against the hull. But Elias had grown up on these waters. He lowered himself into the skiff, clutching the metal box to his chest, and began rowing toward open sea, toward anonymity, toward survival. For hours, the storm hurled him like a toy. The horizon blurred, his muscles screamed. Finally, near dawn, the winds eased. He drifted toward a small port town further south, Port Camden, known for smugglers, merchants, and people who asked few questions. The kind of place a hunted man needed. Chapter 9. The Man in the Tavern. The tavern was loud, dim, and smelled of salt and boiled rum. Elias slipped inside wearing a borrowed cloak, the metal box hidden beneath layers of fabric. He found a quiet corner and examined one of the oldest documents from the box, an unmarked map drawn in faded ink. The coastline was precise, but certain areas shimmered with overlapping lines and symbols. His father had annotated them with peculiar notes. False inlet, do not trust. Hidden current beneath, unnatural depth. Portuguese activity likely. As he traced a symbol that resembled a compass rose with an inverted star, someone slid into the seat opposite him. A woman. Her hair was dark, braided neatly, her eyes sharp as cut glass. She wore a long coat, naval in style, and a subtle emblem pinned near her collar. Elias's hand instinctively moved toward his concealed knife. "Relax," she said quietly. "If I meant you harm, you'd already be dead." "Comforting," Elias muttered. She smiled faintly. "I've been following you since the lighthouse burned. My name is Dr. Charlotte Wainwright, historian, astronomer, and fellow dissident." Elias frowned. He'd heard her name. She was rumored to be part of a clandestine group of scholars who cataloged suppressed discoveries, the archive of the unwritten world. "What do you want?" Elias asked. "You, Elias Harrington, and the box you're hiding under your cloak." His pulse spiked. "How do you know about that?" "Because your father contacted us before he died," she said softly. "He warned us that the order was resurfacing. He told us if anything happened to him, we were to find you." Elias was speechless. Charlotte continued, lowering her voice. "Your father was not simply a lighthouse keeper. He was a former member of the archive and one of its most trusted navigators." "My father?" Elias whispered. She nodded. "He discovered something older than the colonies, older than the empires battling for them. A secret the Order has killed for centuries to protect." Elias swallowed hard. "And what is that secret?" Charlotte leaned in. "A missing landmass, one that once existed off the American coast, a place erased from maps, from memory, from history." "That's impossible." Charlotte opened her coat slightly and revealed a folded ancient chart. "Is it?" Chapter 10. The Map No Empire Wanted. On the chart Charlotte unfolded, Elias saw the familiar outline of the eastern seaboard, but with one stunning difference. Off the coast of modern-day North Carolina, where the sea was now open and featureless, a vast island, almost the size of Rhode Island, was drawn in meticulous detail. "Terra Octavia," Charlotte said, "a landmass documented by early navigators in the 1500s. Then it disappeared." "Destroyed?" Elias asked. "Covered up," she corrected. "If certain powers learned of it, powers with ambitions to rule the Atlantic, they would use its resources, its harbors, its vantage points to dominate all colonial routes." "Britain?" Elias asked. "France, Spain, Portugal, every empire had an interest, and so did the Order of Shadow." Elias exhaled slowly. "So my father found proof." Charlotte nodded, "and he hid pages, coded coordinates inside the box." Elias looked around the tavern, paranoia rising. "If the Order knows what's in this box, they will come for you relentlessly," she finished. "Which is why we need to move now. I have allies waiting at a safe house along the inner harbor." Elias hesitated. Trust no one. His father's warning echoed in his mind. But Charlotte's knowledge was precise, too precise to be a guess or trap. Before he could decide, the tavern door burst open. Men entered, silent, armed,
cold-eyed. Portuguese. The order. Charlotte whispered, "Choose quickly, Elias." He grabbed the box and chose.
Chapter 11. The Escape Through Camden. Charlotte seized Elias's arm. "This way!" They darted through a side door into a narrow alley. Shouts erupted behind them. Boots thundered. Steel flashed. Charlotte led him through twisting lanes, across wooden planks slick with morning dew, and past merchant carts stacked with crates and dried fish. Elias glanced back. 3 order agents were in pursuit. Charlotte turned sharply into an abandoned boathouse. A boat waited, sleek, reinforced, built for speed. "You planned this?" Elias asked breathlessly. Charlotte smirked. "I plan everything." They leapt into the boat, cutting the rope. Charlotte took the helm. The vessel shot forward, slicing through the harbor like an arrow. Order agents reached the pier. Too late. One raised a pistol and fired. The bullet grazed the stern. Charlotte steered into the open water. Only then did she look at Elias and say, "Welcome to the real war." Chapter 12. The Alliance. Hours later, after outrunning their pursuers along the misty coastline, Charlotte anchored in a quiet inlet surrounded by dense pine forest. A cabin stood at the tree line, simple, weather-beaten, but fortified. Inside, a man with spectacles and a cane greeted them. His name was Dr. Augustus Bell, a mathematician known for cracking early ciphers. And a woman with sun-weathered skin introduced herself as Captain Miriam Holt, a former privateer turned revolutionary smuggler. Charlotte gestured to the group. "These are the people who can help decode your father's maps." Elias placed the metal box on the table. Captain Holt examined the contents. "These markings, these aren't just coordinates. They're warnings." Dr. Bell adjusted his glasses. "And these Portuguese symbols, they indicate restricted zones, forbidden waters." Elias unfolded the map he found. "My father wrote that some areas weren't natural." Charlotte nodded. "There are sinkholes, shifting depths, places where compasses fail. The Order uses them to hide their operations." Elias leaned forward. "Then we find Terra Artavia before they do." The room fell silent. Charlotte steadied him. "If you choose this path, there's no turning back. The Order will hunt you across the continent." Elias met her gaze. "They already tried to kill me. They killed the survivor in the cove, and my father." He placed his hand on the ancient map. "This ends with them." Chapter 13. The First Cipher. Dr. Bell began decoding the symbols. These repeating shapes, they form a sequence, a tidal pattern. Elias recognized it. "A cyclone rotation?" Bell's eyes widened. "Exactly. Your father hid the island's location behind disguised tidal shifts. When the Atlantic currents align, a rare occurrence, the true coordinates appear." Captain Hope frowned. "And when's the next alignment?" Bell checked his equations. 5 days. They all froze. 5 days until Terra Artavia reappeared from oceanic concealment, briefly, like a ghost. Charlotte turned to Elias. "We depart at dawn." Chapter 14. The Order Strikes Back. Night fell. The group prepared the ship, an armored vessel named the Night Wind. Elias studied his father's notes under lantern light, absorbing every symbol. Suddenly, a whistle cut through the trees. Then a gunshot. Charlotte yelled, "They found us!" Order agents burst from the darkness. Elias grabbed the maps. Captain Hope drew her pistol. Bell overturned the table for cover. Gunfire ripped through the cabin walls. Charlotte pulled Elias toward the back exit. "We have to reach the ship." Agents emerged from the forest. Elias ducked behind a log, heart hammering. One agent advanced, blade in hand. Elias waited, then struck. A rapid slash.
The agent fell. Elias stared at the blood on his knife. His hand trembled. Charlotte pulled him up. "You did what you had to. Now move!" Together they raced for the harbor as flames began to consume the cabin behind them. Chapter 15. Voyage to the Vanished Land. The night wind pushed into the open Atlantic under moonlight. Elias stood at the bow, gripping the rail as waves crashed below. Charlotte approached. "In 5 days, the island's coordinates will stabilize. Until then, we follow your father's charts." Elias nodded. "But the order will follow us." She gazed at the horizon. "They're already here." Elias's blood chilled. In the distance, dark cells emerged, silent, predatory. The orders, warships. Charlotte whispered, "The race has begun."
Chapter 16. Shadows on the horizon. The wind cut sharp and cold across the deck of the night wind as dawn painted the Atlantic in streaks of bruised gold. Elias stood at the bow, eyes fixed on the distant ships trailing them. 3 vessels, black sails, silent movement. Charlotte joined him, her jaw tight. "They're closing in," Elias said quietly. "They always close in," Charlotte replied, "but they underestimate how fast this ship can run." Captain Holt, standing at the helm, shouted over the wind, "Full sails! If they want us, they'll choke on our wake." The crew, revolutionaries, smugglers, scholars, ex-naval deserters, sprang into action. Elias turned to Charlotte. "How far until the first coordinate shift?" "By nightfall," she answered. "That's when your father's symbols say the current line's open." Elias exhaled. The race to Terra Arctavia had truly begun. Chapter 17. The Phantom Current. Hours passed. The ocean grew stranger, calmer, too calm. Dr. Bell squinted at the water, adjusting his spectacles. "Do you see that?" he murmured. Elias leaned over the railing. The sea, normally restless, was swirling gently in perfect spirals. Not chaotic spirals, but controlled, measured ones, as though some invisible mechanism beneath the surface was turning the entire ocean like a giant clock. Charlotte whispered, "The phantom current." Elias frowned. "What is that?" She said, "A natural impossibility. A phenomenon early navigators tried to document but were silenced or vanished. Your father was one of the only people to learn how to read it." Dr. Bell flipped open Elias's father's notebook. "These spirals. Look at these lines." He tapped symbols in the margins. "When the phantom current appears, the coded coordinates become solvable." He scribbled rapidly, calculating distances. Then he froze. "Oh no." Captain Holt shouted from the helm. "What now?" Dr. Bell turned pale. "The current is not just a guide. It's a trap." The moment he said it, the night wind lurched violently. The sea beneath them dropped as if the entire ocean floor had inhaled. Crew members stumbled. Supplies toppled. Elias grabbed a rope just in time. Captain Holt roared, "Brace yourselves!" The phantom current pulled them forward at terrifying speed, straight towards a wall of fog that rose from the sea like a living creature. And beyond that fog, unknown waters, forbidden waters. Chapter 18. The Fog of the Forgotten. The fog closed around them like wet cement. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Charlotte lit a lantern, but its glow barely reached beyond her hand. "Keep the ship steady," Holt shouted. Elias opened his father's map and held it under the lantern. Strange symbols appeared, glowing faintly, reacting to the humidity and heat. Charlotte's eyes widened. "The map is alive." "No," Elias corrected. "It's reactive. My father wrote with mineral ink. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming a path through the fog. But then, a sound. Deep, metallic, echoing beneath the hull. Dr. Bell whispered,
Something is under us. The sound repeated, louder. Then a massive silhouette drifted past beneath the water. Long, dark, unnatural. Charlotte stepped back. What was that? Captain Holt gritted her teeth. I've sailed every cursed part of this ocean. I've never seen anything move like that. The fog thickened. Then, as sudden as it appeared, it started to thin. Light poured through. Elias gasped. They emerged onto a vast, uncharted sea, surrounded by cliffs and volcanic rock formations not listed in any British or colonial record. Charlotte whispered, "We crossed into the lost sea." Dr. Bell trembled with awe, which means Terra Arctavia is here. Chapter 19, The Island That Should Not Exist. As the fog dissipated completely, an enormous landmass came into view. Jagged mountains, dense forests, white cliffs like carved marble, rivers glowing with some mineral shimmer. Terra Arctavia, the lost island. Elias stared in disbelief. It existed. It was real. His father hadn't been insane or misled. Charlotte touched his shoulder. He found this place. He must have known what it meant. Elias nodded slowly. But then, the wind shifted. Captain Hope cursed under her breath. From the fog behind them emerged 3 ships. The Order of Shadow. Charlotte gripped Elias's arm. They made it through the phantom current. Elias's eyes hardened. Then we're not landing alone.
Chapter 20, Race to Shore. Captain Holt shouted, "Load the deck cannons. They'll try to cut us off." The night wind surged forward, skimming over unfamiliar waters. Elias kept his eyes on the coastline, looking for an inlet, a safe beach, anything. One of the Order's ships fired a warning shot. The cannonball splashed dangerously close. "They're ranging their shots," Charlotte said. "They want us alive, but scared." Elias spotted a narrow opening in the cliffs. "There," he pointed. "Steer left." Holt yanked the wheel. The night wind veered sharply. Order ships adjusted course. Another cannon fired. This one aimed directly at their hull. Elias braced for impact. Bang! A violent explosion rocked the water, but Holt had turned just in time, and the shot hit the sea instead. Charlotte shouted, "Elias, help prepare the map." Elias dashed below deck. Bell spread the chart across the table. Coordinates, he muttered. "Your father left a landing site here, marked by a symbol of protection, but what?" Elias demanded. Bell swallowed. "It's on the far side of the island." Elias froze. "That means..." "Yes," Bell said grimly. "We must cross the island." No sooner were the words spoken than Holt yelled from above deck, "Hold on!" The night wind crashed through a narrow break in the cliffs, scraping rock as it entered a hidden inlet. They had made it, but the Order was right behind them. Elias grabbed the metal box. "Everyone off the ship." Chapter 21, Landfall. They stormed onto the rocky shore. Elias looked around. The landscape was otherworldly. Trees with spiraled bark, plants with silver-tipped leaves, stone formations that looked carved rather than natural. Captain Holt scanned the horizon. This place shouldn't exist, and yet here we are. Charlotte pulled Elias close. "Your father came here. Somewhere on this island, he found something the Order has been killing for centuries to hide." Elias nodded. "Then we find it before they do." But behind them, the Order's ships anchored. Dozens of armed agents disembarked. Charlotte tightened her grip on her pistol. Elias inhaled deeply. Into the forest, now. And the chase began. Chapter 22, The Forest of Whispers. They ran beneath
towering trees whose leaves rustled like distant voices. Elias slowed. This forest, it sounds alive. Charlotte nodded. Some minerals make leaves vibrate. It creates harmonic tones. Dr. Bell shuddered. Beautiful and terrifying. The path ahead split into 3. Elias examined the ground. Footprints? No. Indentations. Geometric patterns matching symbols on his father's map. This way, Elias said, choosing the left path. How do you know? Holt pressed. My father marked this route. See these shapes? They indicate safe passage. Before anyone could respond, a dart zipped through the air and struck a tree trunk inches from Charlotte's head. Order scouts. Elias shouted, "Move!" They plunged deeper into the forest. The terrain grew uneven. Strange stone circles rose from the ground, carved with symbols similar to those in the metal box. Elias froze at one of them. My father wrote about these. Charlotte asked, "What are they?" He touched the carvings with reverence. Navigation markers, but not colonial. Much older. Maybe pre-colonial. Maybe ancient. Bell gasped. Older than European contact? Possibly older than recorded history. Then what exactly was Terra Artavia? Elias didn't answer, because ahead of them, through the branches, lay a sight so shocking that the group collectively stopped breathing. Chapter 23. The Romans of the First Navigators. A massive stone structure rose from the forest floor, half temple, half observatory. Staircases carved into its sides, a dome cracked open by time. Star charts engraved across the walls. It looked impossibly ancient. Charlotte whispered, This predates colonial history by centuries. Bell added, by the style, millennia. Elias stepped forward, awestruck. His father had been here. The symbols on the walls matched those in the metal box. He touched the carvings and something shifted beneath his fingers. A stone slab sank inward. A hidden door creaked open. Inside was darkness. Holt drew her pistol. Let's be careful. This could be a trap. Elias nodded. They entered. The chamber inside was filled with maps, instruments, stone tablets, metal discs with rotating rings, star compasses unlike anything known to modern science. Charlotte whispered, This is a library. Bell gasped, No, an archive. Elias' heart pounded. My father found this. He found everything. Charlotte picked up a metal disc. These markings, they match your father's notes. Bell was already calculating. These devices are for tracking shifting landmasses. Terra Artavia wasn't lost, it was moved. Elias froze. How do you move an island? Bell swallowed. You don't. The ocean moves it. Before they could process it, a voice echoed from the entrance. Cold, smooth, Portuguese. Thank you, Elias, for leading us exactly where we needed to go. Elias turned slowly. Order agents filled the doorway, and at the front stood the man from the lighthouse cellar, smiling.
Chapter 24. Confrontation in the Archive. The man from the lighthouse cellar stepped forward, flanked by a dozen armed order agents. Tall, poised, illuminated by the faint glow of ancient artifacts, he looked like a specter from a forgotten empire. Elias Harrington, he said with cold amusement. You have your father's stubbornness and his arrogance. Charlotte raised her pistol. Take one more step and you will die before you pull the trigger.
the man finished calmly. My agents have 10 guns on all of you. Elias clenched his jaw. Who are you? He demanded. The man bowed slightly, the gesture mocking. My name is Lucien Octavio, last living commander of the Ordem da Sombra, and heir to the knowledge your father stole from us. Elias's blood boiled. My father never stole. He did, Lucien said. He took the coordinates of Terra Octavia. He took the star charts. He took the shifting cycle formula. And worst of all, Lucien's eyes hardened. He took you. Elias froze. Me? He whispered. Lucien stepped closer, eyes like obsidian. You were meant to serve the Order, to inherit the legacy of the greatest navigators in history. But your father fled. He hid you. He betrayed us. Elias shook his head. You're lying. Lucien smirked. Am I? Ask yourself, Elias, how did a simple lighthouse keeper know forbidden symbols, ancient mathematics, oceanic anomalies? How did he acquire maps that no colonial scholar ever touched? Elias's voice cracked. My father was gifted. He was trained by us. Charlotte whispered, horrified. Your father was part of the Order? Lucien spread his arms. He was an elite, a shadow navigator, until he deserted. Elias stepped back as though struck. No, my father hated everything the Order stood for. Lucien laughed softly, which is why he ran. He found something here, something so powerful, so sacred, that even we could not control him. Charlotte asked, what did he find? Lucien turned toward the stone chamber. The heart of the island. The instrument that moves Terra Octavia. Chapter 25. The Island That Moves. Lucien gestured to the artifacts around them. Terra Octavia is not fixed land. It is built on a rare geological formation, a floating tectonic plate that drifts with oceanic rhythms. Dr. Bell whispered, a rogue microplate. Lucien nodded. Guided by ancient mechanics, activated through harmonic resonance, what the natives called the singing stone. Elias blinked. The island sings? Lucien smiled. Oh, yes. Not with sound, though the forest whispers give you a taste. It sings through magnetic frequencies. When aligned correctly, the island shifts, vanishes from naval charts, evades empires. Charlotte stepped forward. So, the island was hidden intentionally. Lucien's face darkened. Not by us, by the first Navigators, an ancient civilization far older than the colonies. They built this archive as a safeguard, knowledge so advanced it would destabilize the world. Bell murmured, advanced cartography, astronomical precision, tidal manipulation? Lucien nodded. But knowledge like this tempts greed, and so a secret order was formed to guard it. Elias spat on the floor. You became tyrants. Lucien sighed. We became what the world needed, but your father disagreed. He drew a dagger from his belt, and that cost him his life. Chapter 26. The Truth About Elias's Father. Elias's heart pounded. My father's death was an accident. Lucian's voice softened, almost pitying. Your father refused to return the last coordinate key. Without it, the island could not be controlled, so we confronted him. He fought back, bravely. Elias's vision blurred with anger. You murdered him. Lucian's silence was confirmation. Charlotte aimed her pistol again. You won't get away with this. Lucian smiled. I already have. He snapped his fingers. Order agents seized Charlotte, Holt, and Dr. Bell. Elias tried to resist, but two agents pinned him against the stone wall. His knife was ripped away. Lucian approached. Now, Elias, you will finish what your father started. You will open the chamber of the singing stone. Elias struggled. Why would I help you? Lucian leaned close. Because if you do, your friends live. He turned to the order soldiers. If he refuses, kill them one by one. Captain Holt spat. You snake. Lucian ignored her. Choose, Elias. Tears burned in Elias's eyes. He looked at Charlotte, her gaze fierce, defiant. At Holt, grim but unbroken. At Dr. Bell, terrified, clutching his cane. Elias took a breath. Fine. I'll open the chamber. Lucian smiled. But on one condition. Lucian raised his eyebrow. Condition? Elias's voice hardened. You let them go. Lucian chuckled. No. Elias clenched his fist. Then I won't do it. Lucian's smile vanished. His eyes turned cold. He drew his pistol and aimed it at Dr. Bell's head. Charlotte screamed, No! Elias shouted, Stop! Lucian's finger tightened on the trigger. Elias, Dr. Bell whispered, Don't surrender. Whatever happens, don't surrender. Lucian fired. Bang. Dr. Bell collapsed. Charlotte screamed. Holt lunged, only to be struck down by an agent. Elias stared, horror consuming him. Lucian holstered his pistol. Shall we continue?
Chapter 27. The Chamber of the Singing Stone. Elias was dragged deeper into the ruin. A staircase spiraled downward, lit by strange natural luminescence, blue and green light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The chamber below was vast. At its center stood a monolithic crystal obelisk, smooth, reflective, humming faintly. The singing stone. Elias felt its vibration in his bones. Symbols swirled across its surface, reacting to his presence. Lucian whispered, Your father opens this chamber once. Only he, and now you, carry the Navigators' inheritance. Elias frowned. Inheritance? Lucian tapped Elias's chest. Bloodline. Your lineage is connected to the first Navigators. Elias blinked in shock. My family? Lucian nodded. You are not English, nor merely colonial. Your ancestors were part of the civilization that built this island. Elias staggered. My father knew. Of course he did, Lucian said.
but he chose to run instead of serve. Elias whispered, "My father wasn't protecting himself. He was protecting me." Lucian smirked. "And now you will finish his work." Agents forced Elias's hand toward the stone. He felt heat, light, a rhythmic pulse like a heartbeat in sync with his own. Lucian commanded, "Activate it." Elias closed his eyes and moved his hand. The singing stone responded instantly, its light intensifying. Lucian spread his arms in triumph. At last, the island will obey. But suddenly, the entire chamber shook. Cracks formed along the obelisk. Lucian's smile vanished. "What are you doing?" Elias whispered, "What my father died for." The singing stone erupted with blinding light. Chapter 30. The Island Awakens. A deep rumble rolled through the earth. The walls trembled. Ancient mechanisms groaned to life. The chamber's ceiling split open, revealing the sky. Lucian screamed, "Stop him!" Agents lunged, but Elias was faster. He struck the stone at a precise angle, an angle marked in his father's notes. The crystal shattered. A shockwave threw everyone violently backward. The ground shook so hard that pillars collapsed. Dust filled the air. Lucian struggled to his feet. "You fool! You doomed us all!" Elias wiped blood from his forehead. "No, I freed the island from you." Above them, the sound of splitting stone echoed through the forest. The island was shifting, not drifting, not moving quietly, but rising. Charlotte, somewhere above, shouted, "Elias!" Elias tried to run toward the stairs. Boom! A massive chunk of debris fell, blocking the exit. Lucian struggled forward, bleeding. You destroyed centuries of knowledge." Elias breathed hard. "No, I ensured it would never be controlled by tyrants." Lucian lifted his dagger. "Then you will die here with it." Before he could strike, a roar shook the chamber. The stone floor split open. Water surged upward. The island was sinking. Or transforming. Or both. Lucian stumbled. Elias dove aside as a chamber exploded with seawater. A torrent slammed into Lucian, sweeping him into the abyss. Elias grabbed a rising piece of debris and hauled himself upward. He climbed desperately toward the ruins above. The chamber collapsed behind him. Lucian's final scream echoed until it drowned beneath the sea. Chapter 30. Reunion in the Chaos. Elias burst upward through a collapsing staircase into the open air. Charlotte rushed to him and threw her arms around him. "You're alive!" she gasped. Captain Holt winced toward him. "The island is tearing itself apart. We have to move." Elias pointed east. "There's a ridge. My father marked it as stable. If we reach it, we survive." But gunfire erupted behind them. Order survivors. Holt shouted, "Move!" They sprinted through the forest as the ground shook. Trees fell. Waves surged inland. Elias grabbed Charlotte's hand. "We're almost there." They reached the ridge, just as the island split in two. A colossal wave rose behind them. Elias screamed, "Hold on!" The wave crashed, and everything went black. Chapter 30. The Aftermath. Elias awoke on a sandy shore. Sunlight burned his eyes. Charlotte knelt beside him, soaked but alive. Captain Holt sat nearby, clutching her ribs. Where are we?" Elias whispered. Charlotte pointed. "Behind you." Elias turned. In the distance, Terra Arctavia was gone, erased. Only swirling ocean remained. just like history recorded. Holt exhaled. You destroyed the island. Elias shook his head. No, I freed it. It returned to where it was always meant to be, somewhere no empire can reach. Charlotte squeezed his hand. You did what your father couldn't. Elias stared at the horizon. The war wasn't over, but today, for the first time, the map belonged to no one, and everything was about to change. Chapter 31. Shadows over Boston. 3 weeks after Terra Arctavia vanished beneath the Atlantic, a cold rain fell over Boston Harbor. Fog wrapped around the masts of merchant ships like ghostly fingers. Elias Harrington walked through the wharf with Charlotte and Captain Holt, dressed in plain coats, avoiding eye contact. They had been living quietly, sleeping in abandoned boathouses, scavenging food, moving every 2 nights. The Order was hunting them relentlessly. Every alley felt like a trap. Every stranger's stare felt too long. Every whisper felt like it carried their names. Captain Holt muttered under her breath. They're tightening their grip. 2 more disappearances last night. Civilians, not soldiers. Charlotte frowned. Order agents? Without a doubt, Holt said. They're searching house by house now. They want Elias. Elias pulled his collar up against the wind. They think I know something else. Charlotte glanced at him. Do you? Elias hesitated. Since the island sunk, he had been dreaming. Visions of star charts, unfamiliar coastlines, glowing symbols. As if the singing stone had imprinted something into him before it shattered. He always woke in a cold sweat. Maybe, Elias said quietly. In whatever it is, they want it badly. Suddenly, Holt stopped. Don't turn around, she whispered. Elias froze. What is it? 3 men behind us, Holt murmured. 2 on the left, 1 on the right. They're following. Charlotte whispered, Order? Holt's jaw tightened. Definitely order. Elias exhaled shakily. Then we run. Chapter 32. The chase through the Old North. They darted through the wharf and into the narrow streets of the North End, boots splashing through muddy puddles. Shouts echoed behind them. There! Stop them! Holt led them around a corner. A musket ball cracked against the bricks inches from Elias's head. They sprinted past bakeries, fishmongers, and shuttered taverns. Fog blurred the world into streaks of gray. Charlotte gasped. They're gaining. Elias grabbed her wrist. This way. He dragged her through a churchyard, the Old North Church rising above them like a silent sentinel. As they ducked behind gravestones, Holt aimed her pistol. Down! She fired. An Order agent collapsed into the mud, but more followed. Dozens more. They spilled into the churchyard like a flood of black coats and steel blades. Holt cursed. Too many. Into the church. They burst through the doors of the Old North Church. Empty pews, candle smoke curling in the dimness, a narrow staircase leading upward. Up, Elias whispered. They climbed into the bell tower. The fog parted, revealing the harbor far below. Elias pressed his back against the wooden beams, breathing hard. Charlotte whispered, They're coming up. Holt's eyes darted around. No escape through the stairs. We need another way. Elias's gaze shifted toward a rotted wooden shutter. He swallowed hard. There is one way. Charlotte followed his eyes and turned pale. That's a 5-story fall. Elias opened the shutter. Cold wind blasted in. The narrow roof slanted downward to a storage shed below. I can do it, Elias said. If I go first, I can catch you. Holt groaned. This is madness. Elias extended his hand. Trust me. Charlotte stared at him, terrified but steady. I trust you. Elias slid out the window, balanced on the thin edge, and leapt. He hit the roof hard. The boards groaned under his weight. He rolled, wincing, then looked up. Jump! Charlotte jumped next. He caught her, barely, nearly rolling off the edge. Holt jumped last, landing with a soldier's precision. Voices thundered from the tower. They're on the roof! Shots rang out. Elias grabbed Charlotte and sprinted across the rooftop. Go, go, go! They slid down the far side, crashed through a stack of barrels, and disappeared into the foggy street below. The order swarmed the rooftop behind them, firing wildly. But Elias and the others were already gone.
Chapter 33. A Letter from the Dead. Hours later, they hid in the abandoned loft of a cooper workshop, surrounded by barrels and sawdust. Holt kept watch by the window. Charlotte bandaged Elias's arm, grazed by a musket ball. Hold still, she whispered. Elias winced. I'm trying. Charlotte brushed dust from his cheek. You saved us. He met her eyes. I always will. A loud knock made all three freeze. Then, a slow, familiar voice. Elias, it's me. Charlotte's eyes widened. That sounds like... Elias rushed to the door and opened it a crack. An old fisherman stood there, coat dripping, face pale, eyes haunted. It was Jacob Red, an old friend of Elias's father. Elias pulled him inside. Jacob, what are you doing here? Jacob held up a sealed, weathered envelope. I've been running for days. The order burned my house. They're hunting anyone connected to your father. Elias felt sick. Jacob placed the envelope in his hands. Your father told me if anything ever happened to him, and if the order ever resurfaced, to give you this. Elias's fingers trembled. He broke the wax seal. Inside was a single sheet of parchment covered in his father's handwriting, and a small metal token engraved with ancient symbols. Charlotte leaned over his shoulder. What does it say? Elias read aloud. Elias, my son, if you are reading this, I am gone. The order will rise again. They will seek you, but you must find the second island. Its name, Kael'Mora. I left the key with Jacob. Do not trust the colonies. Do not trust the crowns. Only one man can guide you now. Find General Washington. He knows more than he will admit. Elias's voice broke. He knew. He knew everything. Holt whispered, stunned. General Washington, as in George Washington? Jacob nodded grimly. Your father and Washington knew each other well. They met in secret many times. Washington was deeply interested in the Navigators. Charlotte blinked. Why would Washington know about the islands? Jacob lowered his voice. Because the first Navigators might not have been the only ancient civilization buried in the New World. Chapter 35. A new map, a new war. Holt exhaled. This is bigger than us, bigger than the colonies. Charlotte folded the letter. General Washington, do you think he'll listen? Elias looked at the assassin's arrow, black as jet, carved with symbols from Terra Artavia. He'll have no choice, he said.
Holt stared out the fogged window. Then our next move is clear. Elias nodded. To Philadelphia. Charlotte took his hand. The order is coming, Elias. He turned towards the storm outside. So are we.
The Lost Continent Files, Part 6, Washington's Secret War. Chapter 36, The Road to Revolution. The journey to Philadelphia took 9 grueling days. Elias, Charlotte, and Captain Holt traveled on foot, through swamps and forests, avoiding roads and settlements. Order agents were everywhere. Shadowy figures watching from ridgelines, silhouettes in moonlit meadows, footprints near their campsites. Twice, Holt spotted coded symbols etched into tree bark, a warning. The assassins were closing in. On the 10th day, they reached the outskirts of Philadelphia, capital of rebellion, birthplace of new ideas, and one of the most surveilled cities in the colonies. Flags flapped in the wind. Carriages rattled over cobblestone. Soldiers marched through the streets wearing the blue and buff of the Continental Army. Holt whispered, "Washington's headquarters is across the Delaware. We have to cross without drawing attention." Charlotte nodded. "And pray the order hasn't infiltrated the city." They couldn't afford to reveal their identities, not when the order was hunting them, and certainly not when Washington had no reason to trust 3 fugitives who'd arrived half-starved and ragged. Elias adjusted his coat, concealing the metal Navigator token his father had left behind. Let's find a way across the river, quietly. But as they moved down the alley, a voice called from behind them. Elias Harrington. They froze. A man stepped from the shadows, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing the blue uniform of the Continental Army with the silver star on his collar. He removed his hat, revealing sharp, intelligent eyes. He said, "My name is Colonel Nathaniel Hale. General Washington has been expecting you." Elias's heart nearly stopped. "How?" he stammered. Hale smiled grimly. "Because the order reached him first." Chapter 37, Washington's Fortress. They crossed the Delaware in a guarded longboat at midnight. Drums echoed across the riverbanks. Soldiers patrolled in lantern-lit lines. Washington's headquarters was not a simple farmhouse. It was a fortress. Barricades, reinforcements, heavy artillery, everything prepared for war. Colonel Hale guided them through layers of security. He whispered, "Washington's headquarters. General Washington has received intelligence that an ancient order has resurfaced. They call themselves the Ordem Decembra." Charlotte stiffened. "They're already here." Hale nodded gravely. "They attempted to infiltrate our camp 2 nights ago. One assassin was captured." Elias leaned in. "And?" Hale hesitated. "He killed himself before speaking, but he carried a strange symbol." He handed them a folded cloth. Inside was a black insignia, twisted, sharp, almost alive. Elias shivered. "The same as the man who killed my father." Hale nodded. "They believe they're after something in Washington's possession." They reached the headquarters door. 2 guards stepped aside. "General Washington will see you." Elias swallowed hard and stepped inside. Chapter 38, Washington's Hidden Room. General George Washington stood by the fireplace, reviewing maps strewn across a heavy oak table.
He looked up slowly, calm, imposing, unreadable. White hair tied back, eyes sharp as a saber, presence like carved stone. Washington said, "Elias Harrington, you resemble your father." Elias stiffened. "You knew him, sir?" Washington nodded. "I did, and I respected him more than most men I served with." He motioned them forward. "I received Jacob Red's warning before his death, and I know the order seeks something you now carry." Elias placed the metal token on the table. Washington's expression darkened. "So it is true. Your lineage did not die with your father." Holt frowned. "What lineage?" Washington stepped to the corner of the room and removed a brass lantern from the wall. Behind it, a concealed lock. He inserted the metal token. With a click, the wall slid open. Behind it was a hidden chamber. Elias's breath caught. It was a vault filled with maps. Not colonial maps, not military maps, but star charts, ancient coastlines, and glowing mineral tablets etched with impossible symbols. Charlotte whispered, "An entire map room?" Washington's voice echoed. "Not just a map room, a room of forbidden knowledge. Much of it brought to me by your father." Elias blinked rapidly. "He trusted you?" Washington nodded. "He believed the order would try to reclaim the lost continents, and he believed the new American Republic must be prepared." Holt stepped closer. "General, what exactly do you know?" Washington sighed heavily. "More than any leader should know." He walked to a massive desk-covered table. Laid across it was an enormous parchment, a map of the Atlantic, but with the second island drawn beneath Terra Octavia. Kael'Mora, the second Navigator Island, location unknown, drifts with the shifting cycle. Charlotte touched the parchment. The same name from Elias's father's letter. Washington looked Elias in the eyes. "Your father dedicated his life to hiding this map from the order. Now they believe you can lead them to Kael'Mora." Elias whispered, "And can I?" Washington didn't blink. "Yes." Chapter 39, The Navigators' Gift. Washington placed an object on the table, a crystalline compass with a faint internal glow. Elias felt a strange warmth radiating from it, like the singing stone's pulse. "This is a navigator's compass, one of the last remnants of the first navigators. Your father was the only man who could activate it." He pushed it gently toward Elias. "But when you stepped on Terra Octavia, it began reacting to you." The compass glowed brighter. Elias stepped back. "It's choosing me." Washington nodded. "The navigator's blood runs in your veins. You can locate Kael'Mora if you learn how to interpret the visions it gives you." Elias's heart pounded. "So the dreams I've been having are the beginning?" Charlotte asked, "What happens if the order finds Kael'Mora first?" Washington's voice hardened. "Then the world will experience a catastrophe we cannot even fathom." Holt muttered, "That would make them unstoppable." Washington looked each of them in the eye. "You must reach Kael'Mora before they do." He handed Elias the compass. "But you will not go alone." Elias frowned. "Who else is coming with us?" Washington stepped backward and opened another hidden door. Footsteps echoed. A familiar voice spoke. "Hope you didn't start the adventure without me." Elias turned, and his heart nearly stopped. Standing in the doorway was Lucian Octavio, alive, smiling, very much not dead.
The Lost Continent Files, Part 7. The Man Who Wouldn't Die. Chapter 40. The Man in the Doorway. Elias froze. Charlotte reached for her pistol. Captain Holt took a fighting stance. But Lucian Octavio only smiled, calm, relaxed, as though he were greeting old friends at a dinner table. Washington raised a hand.
"Stand down. Lucian is under my protection."
Holt snapped. "General, with all due respect, this man is a murderer." Lucian brushed dust from his coat.
Captain Holt, still charming as ever.
She lunged towards him, but Washington blocked her.
"Enough."
Elias stared, voice shaking. "I watched you die. I saw you fall into the ocean."
Lucian nodded. "And yet here I stand."
Charlotte whispered, "How?" Lucian slowly unwrapped his sleeve, revealing a lattice of dark scars and strange inked symbols glowing faintly under the skin.
"Insurance," he said.
Elias exhaled sharply. "Navigator markings."
Lucian smirked. "My lineage is older than yours, Elias. Stronger. Death is not so simple for me." Washington stepped forward. He pulled himself from the sea onto one of our patrol boats, half dead, but alive. He claims he wants to stop the order. Charlotte scoffed. "And you believe him?" Washington's gaze was hard. "I believe he hates the faction that betrayed him." Lucian bowed slightly. "The order fragmented after Terra Octavia sank. My rival, Marcellus Dragor, seized control. He wants the storm engine, and he will burn continents to get it." Holt glared. "So, you're here to help us?" Lucian met Elias's eyes. "No, I am here to help him." Elias stiffened. "Why me?" Lucian stepped closer. "Because Kael'Mora will open only for a true navigator, and because your father trusted Washington and me." Elias's stomach twisted. "My father would never trust you." Lucian sighed softly. "You know very little about your father. He was not the gentle, light housekeeper you remember. He was a commander, a strategist, and he believed I would guide you if he fell." Charlotte whispered, "He left instructions for you?" Lucian nodded. "He left me a message, the same night he died." Elias felt the world tilt. "My father spoke to you before he was killed?" Lucian's voice softened. "He told me to protect you, to train you, to show you the paths he could not." Charlotte murmured, "Why didn't you?" Lucian's expression hardened. The order intervened. Chapter 42. Chapter 42. Washington's Gamble. Washington stepped between them. "We have no time for old grudges. The order is mobilizing. They have agents embedded throughout the colonies, and spies in the British Crown as well. Holt frowned. How bad is it? Washington looked grim. They assassinated 2 Continental officers last week, stole military maps, poisoned supply lines, and they have ships at sea hunting for Kael'Mora. He turned to Elias. You are the only one who can activate the Navigators' compass. Lucian nodded. And I am the only one who knows how to interpret its signals. Elias felt cold. You want us to work together? Washington folded his arms. You must, otherwise the order reaches Kael'Mora first. Charlotte looked out the window nervously. How much time do we have? Washington picked up a coded message. A British frigate intercepted an order ship near the Azores. The order annihilated it. They are getting closer, too close. Lucian added, my former lieutenant, Dragor's right hand, is leading the chase. Holt narrowed her eyes. Who? Lucian's expression was dark. A woman named Sable Quinn. Charlotte shivered. I've heard that name. They call her the Reaper of Tides. Lucian nodded. And she will kill Elias without hesitation. Chapter 42. A Lesson in Shadows. Lucian approached Elias. Your visions, they're not dreams. The compass is awakening inside you. You must learn to read it. Elias swallowed. Then teach me. Lucian motioned toward the map room. Come. Washington nodded. Captain Holt, Miss Charlotte, stay with me. We need to discuss security. Elias, Lucian is yours. Elias followed Lucian into the dim chamber lined with glowing star charts. Lucian closed the door behind them. The air grew heavy. Lucian turned. No distractions, no guards, no allies. Elias tensed. Why? So you can kill me? Lucian laughed softly. If I wanted you dead, Elias, you wouldn't be speaking. He gestured toward an obsidian bowl carved with ancient symbols. Place the Navigator's compass here. Elias did. Lucian lit the small oil lamps around them. Their flames flickered with unusual movements, dancing to some unheard rhythm. Then Lucian handed Elias a piece of chalk. Draw what you have seen in your visions. Elias's hand shook as he kneeled and sketched symbols onto the stone floor. He drew a jagged coastline, a spiraling whirlpool, a massive stone gateway, and the mark of the Navigators, a circle with 3 radiating lines. Lucian's face paled. You see it clearly. What does it mean? Elias asked. Lucian pointed to the whirlpool. This is the sea gate, the only passage to Kael'Mora. He pointed to the stone gateway. This is the threshold. Without the Navigator's bloodline, the gate remains invisible. Elias swallowed. And the coastline? Lucian hesitated. That I do not recognize. Elias frowned. You're lying. Lucian's jaw tightened. I do not lie, Elias. Elias stood. You know more than you're saying. Lucian's jaw tightened. Some truths will destroy you. Elias stepped forward.
Tell me, Lucian whispered. Kael'Mora is not just a lost island. His voice dropped lower. It is our birthplace, Elias.
Elias felt his heart stop. Our what? Lucien held his gaze. Yours, mine, your father's. All navigators. Kael'Mora is the origin of our bloodline. Elias's breath trembled. And the storm engine? Lucien looked away. It is not a machine. Elias felt ice crawl up his spine. What is it? Lucien whispered, a living thing. Suddenly, boom! A massive explosion shook the headquarters. Washington shouted outside, "Ambush! To arms!" Charlotte screamed, "Elias!" Lucien grabbed Elias by the wrist. "We must leave. They breached the compound." Holt shouted orders. "Protect Washington. Form a perimeter." Gunfire erupted. Windows shattered. Soldiers ran past the map room, firing at unseen enemies in the smoke. Elias bolted toward the door. An order assassin burst through it. Black cloak, twin blades, Sable Quinn herself. Her cold smile froze Elias in place. "Found you." Lucien shouted, "Elias, run!" Elias grabbed the compass, stuffed it into his coat, and sprinted toward the hallway. Smoke choked the air. Gunfire rattled the walls. Washington's voice roared commands. Holt fired at assassins descending from the rafters. Charlotte pulled Elias behind a pillar. "We have to escape." Elias looked back. "Lucien!" Charlotte grabbed his face. "We can't save him if we're dead. Move!" Sable Quinn's voice echoed through the smoke. "Harrington, you cannot run from the sea." Elias gritted his teeth. "Yes, I can." He grabbed Charlotte and Holt. "Follow me." They tore through Washington's headquarters as chaos erupted around them. The order's attack had begun, and the real war was finally here. The Lost Continent Files, Part 8, The Sea Gate Awakens, Chapter 44, The Way Out. Smoke swallowed the corridors. Gunfire punched holes in the walls. Screams echoed from stairwells. The order had hit Washington's headquarters like a lightning strike. Charlotte coughed as she ran at Elias's side. "Where are we going?" Elias pointed ahead. "The stables. Washington keeps emergency horses there." Captain Holt sprinted beside them, pistol drawn. "Keep low. Assassins always take the high ground." Just as she said it, two shadow-cloaked order killers dropped from the rafters like spiders. Captain Holt shot one mid-air. The other landed in front of Elias, blade raised. Before he could strike, Charlotte smashed a lantern over his head. Glass shattered. Flames burst. The assassin screamed. Elias dragged her away. "Come on!" They reached the stables just as a fresh detonation rocked the compound. Debris rained from above. A horse whinnied in panic. Holt vaulted over a broken beam and saddled the white mare. "Mount, now!" Elias climbed onto a black stallion. Charlotte swung behind him. Holt shouted, "Gates blown open! We charge! Do not look back!" The trio burst out of the stables and galloped straight into hell. Chapter 45, Sable Quinn's Pursuit. The compound courtyard blazed with fire. Soldiers fought in chaotic knots. Washington stood atop the ramparts, sword drawn, shouting orders despite the smoke burning his eyes. He spotted Elias. "Go! Take the compass and run!" Elias wanted to stop, to help, but Charlotte clung to him. "Elias, please!" He forced himself forward. Behind them, a piercing whistle cut through the din. A black horse leapt over the rubble, and riding it, Sable Quinn. Her eyes burned with predatory calm. She raised her hand. 20 Order assassins shifted formation instantly, like a school of fish reacting to the current. She pointed at Elias. "Bring him to me alive! Kill the others." The assassins surged. Holt barked. "Stay tight! Ride single file!" They thundered across the ruined courtyard. Arrows whistled past. Blades flashed in the firelit air. An assassin lunged toward Charlotte. Elias kicked him square in the chest, sending him tumbling under his own horse. Holt's mare reared, and she fired twice, dropping 2 more pursuers. "Gates ahead!" she shouted. The outer gates hung shattered, smoke pouring through the splintered timbers. Just as they neared the exit, a dark figure landed in front of them, blocking the way. Lucian Octavio, bloodied, smoking, breathing hard. Charlotte gasped. "He's alive?" Lucian looked at Elias. His eyes were fierce, determined. "Go. I'll hold them." Elias shook his head. "You'll die." Lucian smiled faintly. "Elias, I've died before." Sable Quinn stepped onto the wall parapet above them. "Surrender, Octavio. You can't win." Lucian looked up and spat blood. "I don't need to win." He flicked his wrist. The ground exploded in a burst of white heat. A flare grenade, blinding and deafening. Elias screamed, "Go!" Holt kicked her mare. The horses charged through the gate and into the night as Lucian vanished into the smoke. Behind them, the Order's fury engulfed the compound.
Stars, Chapter 46, Flight to the Coast. They rode for miles through the darkness. Forests blurred by. Moonlight flickered through branches. Charlotte's arms were tight around Elias's waist. Finally, when they reached a ridge overlooking the Atlantic, Holt raised her fist. "Stop." They dismounted, panting, listening for signs of pursuit. Only the crash of distant waves answered. Elias leaned against his horse, trembling. "Lucian, Washington, are they—" Holt cut him off. "We don't know, and we can't help them if we get caught." Charlotte pointed toward the shore. "Look." Down below, the ocean glowed faint blue, a phenomenon Elias had seen only in dreams. A vast spiral of light turning slowly beneath the waves. The sea gate. His heart slammed in his chest. "It's real." Holt exhaled. "Holy hell." The water swirled, not naturally, but with purpose. The pattern too perfect, too ancient. Charlotte whispered, "Elias, it's calling to you." He reached into his coat. The Navigator's compass pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of the glowing spiral. Holt scanned the terrain.
That cove down there looks hidden enough. If the order tracks us, we'll need cover before we activate anything. Elias nodded. We need to descend quietly. As they made their way down the slope, the glow intensified. Charlotte whispered, "What exactly is the sea gate?" Elias answered without thinking, "It's a doorway." Holtz looked at him sharply. "Did Lucian tell you that?" "No, I just know." The compass pulsed again. Holt frowned. "That thing isn't just guiding you, it's changing you." Charlotte squeezed Elias's arm. "We're with you, whatever happens." He smiled weakly. "Thank you." But as they reached the sand, the peaceful glow fractured. A violent surge of light shot upward from the whirlpool, a beacon piercing the night sky. Holt swore. "Damn it." Charlotte panicked. "Who sees it?" Elias turned slowly. "Everyone." Stars, Chapter 47, The Awakening. The ground trembled. The surf retreated unnaturally, exposing the seabed. Charlotte stumbled. "What's happening?" Elias stepped forward, compass raised. "It's awakening." The glow expanded, forming a circle nearly the size of a ship. Inside it, something massive moved. Stone, metal, a living creature? Holt grabbed Elias's arm. "Back up! We don't know what comes out of that thing." But Elias shook his head. "No, it's not coming out. It's opening for us." He held up the compass. It vibrated violently. Then, click. The dial unlocked and rotated on its own, aligning with the glowing circle in the water. A deep, resonant hum filled the air. Charlotte covered her ears. "It's alive! Whatever that thing is, it's alive!" The sea gate split open like an ancient flower of stone and light, revealing a descending pathway carved from black crystal. Beyond it, a vast, shimmering world beneath the ocean. Holt stared in awe. "Kael'Mora," Elias whispered, "our birthplace." Charlotte grabbed his hand. "Elias, if we go down there, there's no turning back." Elias met her eyes. "I know." Behind them, thunder cracked. Horsebacks. A familiar, cold voice. "Did you think you could reach the gate before me, Harrington?" Sable Quinn emerged from the ridge with 20 assassins behind her. Holt swore. "Damn it." Sable smiled. "I'll take the compass now." Elias clenched it tight. "No." Sable lifted her blade. "Then you die, here, at the threshold." Elias backed toward the gate. "Captain Holt, Charlotte, jump!" They hesitated. Elias shouted, "Now!" Sable lunged. Holt smoshed Charlotte toward the gate. "Go!" They both leapt into the glowing chasm. Sable's blade slashed across Holt's arm, but she spun and kicked Sable backward, buying a heartbeat of time. She looked at Elias. "Jump, boy." Elias stared into the swirling abyss below. The gateway pulsed. The compass burned in his hand. Elias leapt. The world turned to blue light and roaring water as he plummeted into the depths. Toward Kael'Mora. Toward the truth. Toward destiny.
The Lost Continent Files, Part 9. Into the Drowned Kingdom. Chapter 48. The Fall into Light. Elias didn't hit water. He fell through it. The ocean became weightless, a tunnel of swirling blue, spiraling around him like liquid lightning. Sound vanished. His heartbeat was the only rhythm in the world.
Charlotte screamed somewhere above him. Holt shouted orders, but the voices distorted, stretched thin like distant echoes. Elias stared at the compass. It vibrated in his hand, glowing brighter, brighter, until it burst with light. Suddenly, the tunnel tilted. Gravity slammed downward. The three of them shot out of the portal like stones thrown from a sling, tumbling, rolling, crashing across smooth black stone. Elias groaned, pushing himself up. Charlotte crawled to his side. Elias, where are we? He finally looked around, and the breath left his body. Chapter 49. The City Beneath the Sea. Kael'Mora was not ruins. It was alive. Massive obsidian towers spiraled upward like frozen whirlwinds, their sides etched with glowing lines that pulsed softly like veins. Bridges arched between them like the ribs of colossal sea creatures, and beneath everything lay a vast abyss stretching into endless darkness. Above them was no sky, but a shimmering dome of trapped ocean swirling with fish, sharks, and drifting whales. Charlotte whispered in awe. We're under the sea, but dry. How was that possible? Captain Holt touched the ground, frowning. Some kind of force field? Air pocket? A deep bass vibration rippled through the chamber. The glowing etchings along the walls brightened, responding to Elias's proximity. Charlotte grabbed his arm. It's reacting to you. He nodded shakily. I can feel something, like the city knows me. Holt's face hardened. That means the order is coming. We need to move before they find us. But when they took their first steps, the ground shifted. Lines of light raced across the floor and up the walls, forming patterns. Then a soft, crystalline voice echoed in a language none of them had ever heard before. Elias blinked, but somehow he understood every word. Navigator blood confirmed. Welcome home. Charlotte froze. How did... Elias swallowed hard. It's speaking to me. Holt stared at him. No offense, kid, but that's not normal. The voice continued. Pathway to the core chamber available. Storm engine sealed. Awaiting authorized navigator. Charlotte gasped. The storm engine is here. Elias nodded slowly, staring down the newly lit pathway stretching into the heart of the city. And I think it's waiting for me. Chapter 50. The Hall of Echoes. They entered a cathedral-like hall. Massive statues, 20 feet high, lined either side. Each depicted a navigator elder, holding a compass to the sky. Their eyes glowed faintly with blue fire. Charlotte whispered, They look human. Holt nodded. Not just human. They look like you, Elias. Elias touched the hand of one statue. A spark jumped from the stone into his skin. Instantly, a vision slammed into him. Ocean storm swallowing continents. A black orb humming with impossible energy. The navigators standing around it, arguing, screaming. One breaks away, fleeing with a piece of it. Elias collapsed. Charlotte caught him before he hit the floor. Elias, what happened? Talk to me. He gasped for breath. I saw them, the navigators, and Holt knelt beside him. What did you see? Elias wiped sweat from his brow. They didn't all agree. Some wanted to destroy the storm engine. Others wanted to use it. Charlotte's eyes widened. That means the order. Elias nodded grimly. They're descended from the faction that wanted to control it. Holt stood and checked her pistol. then we sure as hell aren't letting them reach it. Elias pushed himself up, still trembling. The storm engine, it doesn't destroy continents. It moves them. Charlotte blinked. Moves them? As in shifts their plates? Elias nodded. That's why Terra Artavia drifts across the ocean. It's tied to the engine. Holt exhaled sharply. That kind of power in the wrong hands? Suddenly, the hull trembled. A cold ripple of energy passed through the air. Holt spun. They're here. The sea gate behind them glittered, then darkened. Figures stepped through the shadows. Assassins. Dozens. And at their front, Sable Quinn. Her blade glimmered with black light. Thank you for opening the way, Harrington. Her voice echoed like venom. You've done what centuries of Order masters could not. Holt raised her pistol. You take one step toward that engine and I swear I'll... Sable snapped her fingers. 10 assassins leapt forward like wolves. Holt fired twice. 2 dropped. Charlotte threw a shard of crystal, stunning one. Elias grabbed Holt's arm. We can't fight them all. Run! They sprinted down the glowing corridor. Behind them, Sable's voice echoed. Stop them. Kill the women. Bring me the boy. Elias felt Charlotte's hand slip into his. She whispered, Don't stop. He didn't. Chapter 51. The Threshold of the Engine. The corridor opened into a colossal chamber. A circular platform hovered in the center, suspended over a bottomless pit. And on that platform, radiant, terrifying, beautiful, was the storm engine. A massive black sphere the size of a house, floating weightlessly, rotating with slow planetary grace. Arcs of blue lightning crawled across its surface like living veins. The air around it hummed with ancient power. Charlotte stared in awe. It's alive! Holt shielded her eyes from the glare. That thing shouldn't exist. Elias approached it slowly. The compass was burning hot now. Letters rearranged themselves on its face. A new phrase formed. Align, restore, remember. Elias whispered, I think I can activate it. Charlotte grabbed him. Elias, wait! What if it kills you? Or destroys everything? He met her eyes. I think the storm engine responds to intention. If I don't stop the order, they'll turn this into a weapon. Charlotte looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. Instead, she hugged him tightly. Just come back. Holt pointed toward the entrance. They're coming. Make your move, Elias. Elias stepped onto the hovering platform. The storm engine intensified, its surface rippling like dark water. Elias raised the compass. The engine pulsed. A beam of blinding white light shot from the compass into the sphere. Elias screamed as energy surged through him. Charlotte cried out, Elias! Then, the engine's rotation slowed. The room shook. A portal of swirling storm light opened above the sphere, and a voice, ancient and powerful, impossible, filled Elias's mind. Navigator of the new age, the path is open. Charlotte stared in horror and awe. What did he do? Holt whispered. He turned it on. The storm portal grew brighter, roaring like a hurricane. But as the engine awakened fully, Sable Quinn burst into the chamber. Her eyes widened. My God. Then her face twisted with hunger. Kill the women, Bring me Harrington now. The assassins charged. Elias screamed through the stormlight, "Run! Get out!" Charlotte shook her head, tears streaming. "We're not leaving you." Holt raised her pistol, ready to stand her ground. The portal expanded. A lightning wind tore through the chamber. The storm engine erupted, and the entire kingdom of Kael'Mora trembled as if awaking after 1,000 years of sleep.
The Lost Consonant Files, Part 10, The Storm Engine Unleashed. Chapter 52, The Mind of the Machine. Elias didn't feel his body. He floated in a void of stormlight. Lightning curled around him in spirals, whispering in ancient tongues. Symbols flashed like constellations. Voices, hundreds, thousands, echoed through the darkness. One voice rose above the rest. Timeless, deep, resonant. Navigator, you are late. Elias turned, though he had no sense of turning, and faced a figure emerging from the storm. A humanoid outline crackling with blue arcs of energy. Its eyes glowed white. It spoke again. 2,000 years we have waited for your bloodline to return. Elias stammered. Who are you? The figure lifted its hand. I am the engine. I am the memory of the old navigators. I am the hand that moves the seas. The storm shook, and you have awakened me. Chapter 53, The Fight for the Platform. While Elias was trapped in the engine's mindscape, Charlotte and Holt stood alone against Sable Quinn's advancing assassins. Charlotte grabbed a fallen crystal shard from the floor. Holt reloaded her pistol with shaking hands. "Charlotte, keep behind me." Charlotte shook her head. "No, I'm fighting with you." Sable Quinn smirked. "How touching. Kill them." The first wave of assassins lunged. Holt fired. 1 down, 2 down. Charlotte hurled her crystal shard. It stuck in an assassin's throat. He collapsed, choking. But 3 more replaced him. Sable watched them fight, her blade glowing with black energy, her eyes fixed only on Elias. Holt ducked a slash, rolled, kicked an assassin's knee backward. Charlotte screamed, "Get back!" A glowing pillar beside her lit up. She struck it with her palm. A sonic shockwave erupted, sending 2 assassins flying. She blinked. "I didn't know it would do that." Holt shouted, "Then keep doing it!" But more Order warriors swarmed in. Charlotte's chest tightened. They were losing. She gripped Holt's arm. "We can't hold them." Holt fired her last bullet. "Then we die protecting Elias." Charlotte looked at Elias's motionless body, still floating in the beam of light from the engine. "No," she whispered. "I won't let him die." Chapter 54, The Truth of the Navigators. Inside the engine, Elias steadied himself. "What do you want from me?" The storm being tilted its crackling head. "To finish what your ancestor began." Elias frowned. "My ancestor?" The being extended its hand. Images flashed around Elias like lightning-carved memories. A navigator leader holding a glowing sphere. Another tribe splitting from the main group. A betrayal. A fracture between ideologies. Your bloodline was the keeper line, sworn to protect the engine, sworn to prevent its misuse. Elias's stomach turned. "And the Order?" The storm being's voice thundered with disdain. "They are descended from the Breakers, the faction who sought to use the engine to reshape the world."
Land masses shifting, oceans rising,
Entire civilizations erased, the world map rewritten during the ancient war. The figure leaned close. The storm engine cannot destroy, but it can drown nations, crack continents, silence kingdoms. Elias felt sick. I don't want that power. The figure's lightning eyes flickered. Power is not your choice to want. Power is what you must master. The storm roared violently. The engine responds to intention, and your intention must be pure. Elias shouted, I don't know how. The engine's voice dropped, quiet but immense. Then I will teach you. Chapter 55. Sable Quinn Revealed. Back in the chamber. Sable Quinn stepped forward, bored with the fight. Enough. She moved faster than a bullet. In a blur, she disarmed Holt, cracked Charlotte across the jaw, and pinned Holt to the wall with her forearm. Holt choked, struggling. Sable leaned in. You should have stayed in the military, Captain. You might have lived longer. Charlotte staggered up, bleeding. Get away from her. Sable tilted her head. You truly don't know, do you? Holt spat blood. Know what? Sable smirked. We are the same. She traced the black veins running faintly up her arm. Holt froze. I've seen those markings before. During the war, experiments done on soldiers. Sable laughed softly. Not experiments, ascension. She unsheathed her blade. I am the perfected navigator, a breaker reborn. Charlotte's eyes widened. You're not human. Sable grinned, revealing faintly sharp canines. I am more. Holt whispered, You're the weapon. Sable pressed her blade to Holt's throat, and soon I will control the storm engine. Chapter 56. The Engine's Lesson. The storm being circled Elias. To command the engine, you must understand its purpose. Elias steadied his breath. What purpose? The being raised his hand. The void expanded. Suddenly, Elias stood above a bird's-eye view of the Earth from thousands of years ago. The continents were different, massive, connected. The being spoke. The world once had balance, one supercontinent, harmony. The engine maintained the tides, the winds, the seasons. Elias watched rivers flow like glowing threads directed by unseen hands. But the breakers wanted more. They wanted control. They seized the engine. The map fractured. Continents split like cracking glass. Mountains rose. Seas swallowed cities. Storms raged across the globe. The image rewound, flickered, stabilized. Your ancestor stole the prime crystal, the heart of the engine, and hid it. Elias's heartbeat thundered. My ancestor broke the engine to save the world. Lightning formed around the being like armor. Now you may restore balance or let it fall again. Elias swallowed. I want to help. The being's voice softened. Then open your mind and let the engine in. A blast of stormlight consumed Elias. Chapter 57. The Breaking Point. Charlotte saw Elias convulsing in the beam. She screamed, Elias, fight it! Sable Quinn kicked her aside. Do not interfere. He's bonding with the engine, and soon it will be mine. Holt forced herself upright despite the pain. You won't reach him. Sable smirked. I already have. She advanced toward the storm engine platform. Charlotte grabbed her ankle. No! Sable spun and kicked her square in the ribs. Charlotte flew back, skidding across the floor. Holt roared and threw herself at Sable. They crashed together in a violent, desperate grapple. Sable laughed. "This is pointless." She shoved Holt hard, cracking her head against the floor. Charlotte crawled and reached Holt, shaking her. "Captain, please stay awake." Her eyes fluttered. Behind them, Elias screamed inside the storm. Sable climbed onto the engine platform. Time to claim what the Order deserves. She raised her glowing blade. Lightning from the engine arced toward her, like it recognized her bloodline, but then rejected it. Sable snarled, "No, you will obey." She thrust her blade into the heart of the storm. The engine pulsed violently. A wave of energy exploded outward. The chamber cracked, the dome trembled. The entire city shook as if waking from a nightmare. Holt whispered weakly, "She's destabilizing it." Charlotte grabbed Elias's limp arm. "Please, come back." Lightning split the air. Sable screamed, and the storm engine unleashed its first true awakening in 2,000 years.
The Lost Continent Files, Part 11, When the Ocean Rises. Chapter 58, The First Shockwave. The storm engine detonated. A pulse of blinding white ripped through the chamber, shaking the entire city. The air compressed. Stone walls cracked. Ancient towers trembled like brittle bones. Charlotte threw herself over Holt as the shock wave tasked. The dome of water above them, the impossible barrier holding back the Atlantic, flickered. For a heartbeat, they saw the true ocean above them, a vast, dark abyss, full of pressure, full of weight, full of death. Then the dome stabilized, barely. Charlotte gasped for breath. "Elias, please, wake up!" Inside the storm beam, Elias floated limp, lightning coursing across his body like veins of living fire. Sable Quinn stood on the platform, clutching her blade as streams of energy tore at her armor and skin. She screamed with rage, "Obey me, engine! I am your true master!" The storm engine thundered in rejection. A second shockwave hit. This time, the city floor cracked, splitting open in jagged lines. Charlotte dragged Holt to a safer ledge. "Hold on, Captain. Please, stay with me." Holt coughed, blood on her lips. "I'm not dying until that witch is dead." Charlotte forced a shaky smile. "That's the spirit." But then a low rumble rose beneath them. Deep, ancient, awakening far below. The city of Kael'Mora was beginning to collapse. Chapter 59, The Mindscape Duel. Inside the engine's storm mind, Elias was no longer falling. He stood in a vast expanse of thunderclouds. Lightning spiraled in slow motion. Winds circled like giant serpents. The air hummed with the engine's consciousness. Then, a second figure formed beside him. Sable Quinn. Except in the mindscape, she appeared different. Taller, more monstrous. Eyes black with flickers of blue fire. Energy veins pulsing under her skin. She smiled cruelly. "So, this is where you're hiding." Elias froze. "You're in here too?" She stepped toward him, lightning burning beneath her feet. "When I stabbed my blade into the engine, I bridged the minds. Now I can take control from the inside." Elias backed away. "You can't control it. It doesn't want you." She laughed softly. "The engine doesn't need me. It only needs me to overpower you." She lunged. Elias raised his hands instinctively.
Lightning exploded from his fingertips. Sable was knocked back, sliding across the storm cloud floor. Her eyes widened. Well, well, the boy fights. She rose, blade materializing in her hand, a weapon forged of pure crackling energy. Elias summoned lightning again, but it sputtered. He didn't know how to wield it. Sable twirled her blade. Let me educate you. She attacked in a blur. Elias dodged barely. A slash of storm energy sliced where his head had been. He stumbled. She grabbed him by the throat. Her eyes burned into his. You don't deserve this. You don't either.
Sable leaned close. Oh, but I earned it. I was chosen. I survived what killed hundreds. Lightning surged from her palm. Elias screamed. The storm mine trembled. Outside, the engine flared wildly. Chapter 60. Collapse of Kael'Mora. Charlotte dragged Hope behind a statue as another shockwave tore across the chamber. The floor split open entirely now, revealing endless ocean darkness below. Charlotte peered over the edge. Please tell me that's not the entire sea about to come crashing down on us? Holt groaned. It's the entire sea about to come crashing down on us. Charlotte forced a breath. Okay, good. Just checking. A huge pillar cracked and toppled. The city groaned like a dying beast. Holt grabbed her arm. Charlotte, listen to me. If Elias doesn't regain control, everything collapses. The city, us, the coast above. Charlotte looked at Elias, convulsing inside the storm beam. I know. Holt squeezed her arm. And if Sable takes the engine, this isn't about a city. Charlotte's voice shook. It's the world. Holt nodded grimly. Then go to him. Charlotte's breath caught. I can't leave you. Go, Holt shouted, shoving her. Charlotte grinned, but as she sprinted toward Elias, 3 assassins emerged from the shadows. Charlotte froze. They raised blades. Then, a voice boomed overhead. Get away from her! A figure dropped from a fractured balcony, riding a burst of blue light. Lucian Artavio, alive. Barely. Face bruised, arm bleeding, coat burned, but very much alive. He landed between Charlotte and the assassins. Come on then, he snarled. The assassins attacked. Lucian fought like a man with nothing to lose. Steel on steel, punches cracking bone, lightning flickering across his palm. He killed one, disarmed another, kicked the third into a fissure. Charlotte stared, stunned. Lucian, you're... He yelled, help Elias. She nodded and sprinted toward the storm beam. Lucian collapsed to one knee, panting. Damn, this kid better save the world. Chapter 61. Elias awakens. Inside the mindscape, Sable shoved Elias to the ground. Lightning wrapped around him like chains. She raised her blade. Goodbye, Harrington. The weapon plunged downward. Elias screamed, and at that exact moment, a voice echoed through the void. Elias, come back to us! Charlotte's voice, it hit like a shock through his soul. Memories flashed. Charlotte laughing at the fire. Charlotte saving his life. Charlotte saying, we're with you. Charlotte grabbing his hand at the sea gate. Elias's eyes snapped open. Lightning surged through him. He grabbed Sable's blade with his bare hand, and it shattered into 1,000 sparks. Sable's eyes widened. No, no, no! Elias rose slowly, stormlight radiating from every inch of him. You're done hurting my friends. He clenched his fist.
Lightning wrapped around him like armor. Sable screamed and lunged. Elias thrust his palm forward. A blast of pure energy erupted. Sable was hurled across the mindscape, slamming into the storm horizon. The storm being's voice boomed. The Navigator has chosen. Elias looked up at the swirling vortex. It's time to end this. The storm being nodded. Then take the engine's control. Elias reached upward. The vortex descended. The storm enveloped him, and his eyes blazed white. He had become the Navigator. Back in the physical world, the storm engine's glow flared, but instead of chaos, it began to stabilize. Charlotte reached the platform just as Elias's body descended gently to the ground, storm energy dissipating around him like fading embers. She knelt beside him, shaking. Elias? Elias! His eyes opened slowly. He was exhausted, but alive. Charlotte! Charlotte hugged him hard, tears streaming. You're back! You're really back! He smiled weakly. I heard you. You brought me back. But then Elias's expression changed. He looked toward the collapsing dome. We don't have much time. Charlotte blinked. What do you mean? Elias pointed upward. A massive crack spread across the water dome, and for the first time, a drop of seawater fell through. Just one, but it hit the floor hard enough to break the stone. Charlotte's heart stopped. Oh no, Elias whispered. The entire Atlantic Ocean is about to fall on us.